Hey ladies and gentlemen, this is Matthias from Interactive Asia, and here we are in part 5 of our Ventuz Quick Start tutorial. In this day's tutorial we will introduce the animation node, and I will show you how easy it is to use animations, keyframe animations, to create cool stuff in Ventuz. So as you remember, last time we finished up here with that movie. I showed you also simple animations, basically with a mover to rotate that stuff and to create this graphics here. We will follow up with this menu later on, but for now I think it's much more easy if I start a new scene, if I just open a new scene to give you a basic understanding of the animation node, right? So let's do that. So I press Ctrl N to open a new scene here in Ventuz. And let's say we start like always with an axis, and we put just a simple rectangle here behind, and yeah, maybe we make it a bit bigger. So what I want to do now, let's say I want to be able to move that rectangle into each corner, right? So maybe let's say we want to build 4 buttons later in each corner, and maybe also one in the center. If I press the button here on the left top corner, then I want that my rectangle is going to that direction, right? So let's try to do that. So what I want to do, I need an animation to exactly. So I go to my content editor and I choose animation. Okay. I also can do that for you guys who are new to Ventuz. You can press Shift F6 to open here your toolbox, but of course also you just can open it here via the view menu item, right? So there we go here, and the toolbox, that's basically the same, but Shift F6 open and close the toolbox. That's pretty handy, especially when I work here on only one screen for the recording. So okay, animation node you can find in the toolbox also where we had the mover in the last session, and here the keyframe animation. Just drag and drop it into the content. Okay, let's close up this toolbox. So right now the animation is pretty empty because we have to tell the animation, hey, which channels do I want to animate? So let's click our axis, and then we will have automatically our axis visible here in the content editor. So what I want to do, which channels do I want to animate? Let's try. So of course I want to animate the X value, right? The X position. I also want to animate the Y position. That's all I want to do. So basically my X and Y position channel, these 2 channels I want to animate. So it's very simple. So I select the node in my content editor, and then I just left click and hold and drag and drop the values I want to animate over my animation. Let's do that with the X and with the Y. And if I click now, I cannot see anything, right? So we need one more window to open. So there are many ways now. If we go to the view, we have here our animation view, right? So for whatever reason, he will open that animation view right here. That's actually not what I want, so let's close that again. And what you also can do, you have here different kinds of preview, yeah, preview or how we call it, yeah, kind of a design layout, yeah, where you have different windows. So if you click design, then you have a very large render window, right? If you go to logic, then we have here, of course, our 2 editors, the hierarchy and the content editor. And we also have here our animate view, right? So let's click that animate view, and then you can see, then we have here, down here, we have then really our animation channels, right? So if I click now my animation, and let's give that animation a quick name, let's call it my first animation. So then we can also see, here is my first animation, right? And here we also can make sure, okay, I'm working now in the 3D layer, in my 3D layer 1, in this one, right, in my first animation. So don't worry about it. Whenever you click that, then in the animation view, or in the animation, yeah, actually in the animation view, you will have access to the channels, right? And here we have our X and Y channel, right? For example, if I add here one more channel, let's say I also want to be able to yeah, to move it or the Z axis, I add that, and then you can see down here we also have that Z axis. Another quick way without drag and drop is if you want to add channels to the existing animations, you just can press and hold Control, and then let's say I want to have the rotation X, Y, Z. So just press and hold Control and then left click each channel, whatever you want to have, right? If you want to delete some channel, you can right click on this binding and then you can say, hey, what do I want to delete? Or you also can just go into the animation and press delete on your keyboard, and then you also can delete this, the selected channels basically, right? Okay, so next step, what we want to do. I also don't want to have that set position because we don't use that for now. So let's start. We have, or not let's start, let's go on. I want to add a keyframe. To add a keyframe, I have to select all the channels where I want to have a keyframe and then drag and drop with the left mouse to the position in my animation where I want to add these keyframes, right? So to add a keyframe, I just have to press here that orange button, add keyframe, and now we have a keyframe here at 0, 0 at time 0, right? If I say, hey, after whatever time 5, I want to have my X on 20 and I want to have my Y somewhere down here at, let's say, -10, right? And then I just, I move before my guy over here. I also can, if I move it now, then he will jump, bring that values back. So again, I move it to 5, then I change my values. That was 20 and that was -10 in the Y position, and then I add a keyframe. And now we have already that nice little animation, right? So if I press spacebar, then you can see the animation live basically. Also a little tip, you sometimes these numbers sometimes we don't know what these numbers means. Yeah, these are absolute values of frames right now. You can change the view here. So once 1.0, that's practically, I'm not sure if these are frames or if this is absolute value. I think you can check it in the manual. What I like to do is to change it to time, basically to second. Yeah, and if I scroll out with my mouse wheel, right, and if I hold my mouse wheel, I can move here left and right and zoom in and zoom out. So let's say I want to move this guys now to 1 second, right? Then I just move that guys here, let it run. And now that whole transition from this keyframes to that keyframes will take 1 second. Okay, so this is basically how you make and add keyframes. If I say after another 2 seconds when you are there, I want that you are at -20, yeah, so on the left side, and I add another keyframe. You also can press insert on your keyboard. That's a shortcut to add keyframe, right? So now we have 2 second, 4 second, 2 second animation, and then I can say, hey, okay guys, and now I want to have you in the top left corner, so I just push it up to 10. I press insert, I have another keyframe. After that I say, hey, now I want to have you let's say on the top right corner, let's say 20, and we add another keyframe, and from there we are going back to the center, so that's 0, 0, and we add some other keyframes. Oops, sorry, that's 0, and we add some other keyframes, insert, and here we go, and now we have a little animation. Okay, so this is actually how you are doing keyframe animations in Ventuz. Pretty simple. So this is one part from keyframes. Quickly, one last tip. Sometimes I want to see, because it's real time, I want to see, hey, if I press play, right, I also can press here play. I want actually to see my time bar, right, where it is. So we can do that. You just have to activate here that real-time view. Yeah? So all the property editors, like the animation editor, or here also my properties, you have this little button. So I think by default in the properties it's activated already, but in the animations you have to activate it. So if this is activated and I press play, then also our timeline is following exactly the time, right? So now let's say we have here now a couple of keyframes, right? That's and now let's say, hey, I want to be able to start this animation with a button, right? What we had. So we have here nothing right now, right? We have no methods, no inputs where we can fire or start our animation here, right? So the animation has a couple of features. We have here our view time, right? So this is exactly that time editor where we add the keyframes. Then we also have our diagram view where we have the channels where we really see in values where we can later on, you know, change the time, where we really can play here with that. I think this Bézier curves, also sorry if I pronounce it wrong. Then we also have here our logic view, right? And exactly this logic view, that's what I will explain you next. So without a new animation, when you just have a new animation and you add some keyframes, then you will not have any logic in that, right? Even if you add some keyframes already. So here we have two ways, or maybe more, but I know two ways how to add logic, right? So one way is if we just stay here in our time view, right? So let's check that again. Here we have our keyframes. If I go back to our logic view, here it's empty, it's nothing here, right? So let's go back to our keyframe view. And here I have that little button, create a state mark, right? And create that state mark. That, if you click this little one, this little blue down arrow, then you have a new state or a new soft state, okay? So I will explain you both, but let's start with the new state, yeah? So I'm here now, and let's say this one should be the begin of my animation. Yeah, so I want to add some logic here, some event, let's call it event. So I just click here and new state, or on the keyboard S, and I say, hey, and then I want, let's say here, I want to have here is my next state. So let's press S again. Then here is my third state, press S again, my fourth, fifth, and my last state, right? So, and now let's go back to our logic view. Now you can see Ventuz created automatically here our states, right? So we have state 1, we have state 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I double click S1, we are already, S2 is there, right? Then he jumps directly to the position or to that keyframe basically, right? So we have now 6 states, okay? And what you also can see, they have different colors, and they also have that lines in between, and they also have that other little dots. So if I select now my animation here again, then we can see, since we added that logic, we have here also more options, right? And that more options is exactly what represents the colors here, right? So for example, if I select my state here, then we have here properties from this state, right? And these properties means, okay, the name, we can add some rule. We will come talk about rules later on in this series. The name of the state, right? And we have also a type. So if we open the type, then we see this is the begin default, then we have a begin state, and we also have a normal state, right? So if you see, if I click to begin, Ventuz won't let me choose that begin, because every animation needs a begin default state. Yeah? So some animations can have more than one begin state, but I think just only one begin default state, right? Then end state, end default, the presented, and so on. So the blue ones, if we go here, the yellow one, yellow means presented default, the orange one means the end default, and the blue ones are all normal states, right? So these colors are actually very important for if you're using, if you're building templates with the director for big shows, for TV shows, or for whatever, yeah, for any big project which you will later then control with the Ventuz director. Yeah? So that will be very important to use this, yeah, these different colors and these different states, right? Okay, so these are the states. What we want to do now. Now we want to be able to start basically with a button to go from here to state 2, state 2 to state 3. So let's select our animation again. So we have here that little next, right? And that next has that same little green arrow which is showing to the right, like we have here, right? And we also have it here again. Let's try to make that a bit, can I get it a little bit more out or not? Hello? Probably not, why not? Come on. Okay. Why? I actually just want to make that a bit bigger, but don't know why. Anyway, doesn't matter. So this exactly are the same methods, right? Like we have down here in the animation. So if I press next here, of course, then you can see it's also visually represented here. Then we are going through all that states, right? So next, and next, and to S4, to S5, to S6, and with the orange one, with the previous, we can go back, right? So that's exactly how Ventuz is handling that logic in animation, right? So if we see here now our keyframe view, and we go to next, then we can see it's exactly happening like expected, right? This begin, if we press begin, then the animation will jump back to your begin default state, right? So wherever you are in your animation, for example, you're somewhere, you know what, for whatever reason, you stop the animation somewhere and you save it, then Ventuz will save also the state of this animation exactly here, right? So if you go, if you want to press something now, yeah, it's actually working here, but I'm not sure if they fixed it automatically, but it can happen sometimes if you save animation and your time bar is here in the center, then the animation don't know, hey, where I am. Yeah, she have no rules basically because she's somewhere here in between that states, yeah, where nothing is defined. So what I recommend, use the begin state as a kind of a reset. Yeah, if you build complex animations, complex Ventuz scenes, use that begin state as a reset. So that means whenever you start your project, whatever, say, shoot at the very first thing what that Ventuz project should do, he should shoot this event for all your animations, yeah, to make sure that all the animations are on the begin state, at the begin state, right? Okay, so this is the logic view. Then let's see what else can we do here. So let's say, hey, I want these names I don't like and also that methods I don't like, right? So let's just delete all that, guys. Come on, come on, come on. Can I delete it? Can I not? I cannot. Okay. So let's delete all that, guys, here. And let's say, hey, I want to be able to go from the center to each corner, right? So let's do that again. I will do that in a different way. I will delete all these keyframes, and I have now an empty animation with the two bindings to my position X and Y. So what I do now, we have different ways how we can create keyframes, right? I do it now a different way. So if I go into the logic view, right? So let's go to the logic view and I double click, then Ventuz will create automatically a state. Okay, I call that state now sender. Okay, so, and sender is exactly, has already the right keyframes. So now I make more logic. I double click again and I say, hey, you are now here my top left. Okay, but my top left is actually not the same position like the center. So my top left should be something like, I think we had here 20, and let's say minus 20 and 10. So this is my top left, right? So now we have these guys already, okay? So let's go on and let's make our other three corners. Let's call that guy here top right. And let's jump to there and let's call that just 20 and 10. Then we do the last two corners. That's the bottom right. And we jump there too. And this is minus 10. And we do the last corner. This is down here. Exactly, that's the bottom left. Here we go. And we select that too. And we tell him, hey, minus 20. Here we go. Okay, so now we defined all that states, right? So next, now we have to give the logic. We don't have any bindings here, right? So I just right click on my top left, for example. Now let's start from the center. So you see, now I did something what I don't like. So now we created here something, right? What I don't like. Let me see, where can I delete that? No, not here. This is the state. Actually, where can I delete that? Come on, boys. ID. Here's some rule. That rule means actually, hey, I point to myself. Okay, we do it easy way. We delete it. We double click and we call it top right again. What is the error? Already exists. I know. Okay, but where does he exist? Where is he? Where does he exist? Okay. Anyway, let's do that another way. Let's call that top left. So, okay. Now we have here all these guys should be normal states. Actually, it doesn't matter too much, but to keep it simple and clear. So what I say now, hey, when I'm in the center, I want to be able to go from center to the top left, to top right, to bottom right, and so on. So I right click to the center and I drag and drop it to the states. And I do the same from here to here. I do the same from here to here. And I do the same from here to here. If you middle mouse click and with the mouse wheel zoom in, zoom out, and middle mouse button, you can move here your logic, right? So, Okay, that looks good. Makes also, let's make it a bit bigger. So, and as you can see, so we have now the bindings, right? So we are creating now some animation rules. That means now we are able to go from the center to the bottom left. We are able to go from the center to the bottom right, basically to each corners and back to the center, right? So, but what we still don't have, for example, we don't have defined this the methods, right? So I want to have my own methods because previous next is very difficult, right? So to create my own methods, I click here on that little methods button, right? And then I can create a own method. So let's call that go to top left, and we create another one. And this one we call go to top right, and another one go to bottom left, and another one go to bottom right. Okay, and the last one, we also want to be able to go back to the center from each corner, right? So we also need another method, and we call it go to center, right? So now we created that up here, but we also can create it down here, wherever we want. So last thing what we have to do now, we have to assign basically with drag and drop all that methods. Okay, so go to center first, right? So go to center, all the outer corners need that methods, because from there I want to be able to go back to the center, right? Okay, and go to bottom right. Go to bottom right is here. Then we want to go to bottom left, that guy is here. Then we want to go to the top right, go to top right is here. And we have to go to top left, right? And we assign it here. And we just replace it with the defaults what Ventuz did. Okay, so now let's try it. I go to the begin state, and now I say, hey, go to top left. Go to top left. So I did something wrong here. Okay, yes, I did something wrong, because you can see here my bottom left have exactly the same X and Y position like my top left. Before I messed that up a little bit. So we just changed it, right? So we just, yeah, my top left is 10 and not minus 10 in the Y position, right? And now let's try that again. Let's start in the center and let's go to top left. Okay, that's good. Go to center. Then go to bottom right. That's all working. Right, so you can see that's all working, except what's not working. I cannot go now, for example, from my bottom right, I cannot go straight away to the other corners, right? Because we define it here. If I want to do that, yeah, then you just have to make all that bindings, yeah. So let's do that. Let's say I want to go from the top left to the top right. I want to be able to go from the top right to the bottom right. I want to be able to, you know, and so on, okay? Right? And maybe you also want to be able to go from the top left to the bottom right, and you also want to be able to go from the top right to the bottom right. So that looks pretty much like an all-to-all connection, okay? So actually there is a little, I mean, with this 5 states, it's okay, but imagine you have a very, 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 very complex animation with whatever 50 or 150 states. Don't do that, please. But anyway, then you have here that button, auto connect states, right? If you click that, then here a little select window opens, and he will ask you, hey, create jump to state rules or create all-to-all connections. Yeah, that would be actually what I would use here then, right? So then you have to, then you don't have to do that manually. So okay, so we did it now, but we still have to assign our functions, right? So from the top left, let's start here with the first one. From the go to top left, we want to be able to go to top left from here, right? And we also want to be able, sometimes it gets really very messy, so you can drag these guys around, and with that little dot here in the center, you also can move that connections. That there is no functionality, it's really just to make it a little bit more easy to visualize your things, right? So let's make that a little bit larger, just that we can see that a bit better. So we have here our center, okay. Let's bring the center then also back to the center. It's just that it's more clear. It's a more clear visual representation for us, right? That you understand what we are doing. For example here, right? So let's move that guy a little bit. And also maybe that guy a little bit, that we have more space here later on to drag and drop our methods. Okay, so again, let's open that we get here access to our own created methods. Go to top left. Okay, top left is here. I want to be able to go to top left from bottom left. I want to be able to go to top left from here. I want to be able to go to top left from that guy. And that's pretty much it. Okay, next, go to top right. I want to go to top right from here. And you can see here it gets sometimes really a little bit messy and tricky, so just drag and drop this guy's a little bit off. Okay, so where we are, top right. Okay, I want to go to top right from here. I want to go to top right from here. And here we have already. Okay, next is go to bottom left from here. Sorry, that was wrong, that's bottom right. So that's bottom right, that's that guy. Okay. And again, we go to bottom left, bottom left, we are going from here, bottom left, we are going from here, and bottom left, we are going from here, and from here too, right? Okay, okay, and then last one, go to the bottom right, go to the bottom right, we have here already, we need that one here, and we need that last one. Okay, go to the bottom right. Okay, I think that's it. So you see, it's really a bit work to make that, actually not so complicated logic, but of course, try it really, get used to it. It's not that complicated at the beginning, maybe a little bit, but it's really kind of, a little bit try and error and get used to it. So let's try it now. Now we should be able to go from everywhere to everywhere. We can go to the top right, we can go to the bottom left, we can go to the bottom right, we can go to the center, we can go to the top left, we can go again to the bottom right, we can go to the top left, we can go to the top right. As you can see, we can go now from everywhere to everywhere. And that's exactly what we developed here with these animations. Right? Good guys. So I think, let me quickly check here in my manual. Okay, that's all good. Exactly. Sure. I mean, what we've done now, because not finished yet, to explain you that whole state machine and also the keyframe animations. So we created now that logic, and you remember we didn't add any keyframes, right? So we actually did that, or Ventuz did that for us when we created that states, right? Because each state has his own keyframes, right? Okay, so that means if we are going now to our time view, or what you probably also not recognized, Ventuz also created for each binding what we made, right? Ventuz created here these tabs, right? And these tabs called top left to top left, center to bottom right, center to top right, and bottom left. So this state machine is actually already, let's call it clever, and she will handle all that keyframes for you, right? So we have basically 5 positions or 5 different keyframes, the center and the corners. And based on that, Ventuz will help you based on the bindings, how you do. Ventuz will create all the necessary keyframes and bindings for you. So let's check that in the keyframes, right? So we have here our top left to top left, right? So top left to top left, there's actually nothing. I think that happened before. You remember when I made that one little that binding which bind itself back to itself, right? So what I can do here, I actually should be able to delete that, right? I think so. Delete current. Exactly, because we don't need it, right? We don't, when we are in this corner, we don't want to go to that corner again from that corner. Okay, so then let's check here our next one. Here we have the tab center to bottom right, right? So what Ventuz created here for us, he's going from the center to the top left, to the top right, to the bottom right, to the bottom left, to the top left, and to the bottom right, right? So actually, yeah, like I say, I mean, you also can do that manually, but yeah, why not let Ventuz do some job here to the engine, right? And here you can see these are all your tabs, what Ventuz created now automatically for you, so you don't have to worry about it. And your animation is ready to run, okay? So we created now that animation with some states, right? And as you remember, we have 2 kinds of states. We have the states and we have the soft states. So let me quickly explain you the difference of that, yeah, two states and soft states, right? How we show that best. I think we can show that here. So as you can see, this one is actually a hard state, right? Let's call it a hard state or a normal state, but not a soft state. Yeah, that's important. So this is actually a state. Yeah? So that means this state is really bound to keyframes. Okay, so let's quickly make a very simple new animation. Let's just do that again, just to show you and to keep the things a little bit clear. So let's say exactly. Let's do that again, and let's push it up a little bit, and let's add animation. Okay, and we just drag and drop here, or control click here our X and Y channel, and we select this guy, and we say okay, and insert keyframe, insert key on your keyboard, and after whatever 2 seconds, I want you be here, something like that, whatever. So now let's create a keyframe. Okay, let's create a normal keyframe. So if I move this state now, right? Sorry, not a keyframe. I created a hard state, right? So like I showed you before, this hard state is really bound to my keyframes, right? So I can not move this state without the keyframes following. Okay, so this is really important to understand. Instead of using a soft state, you can see it's different color, and I can move that soft state, and that soft state is not bound to my keyframes. Okay, so this is a big difference, right? For example, with soft state you can do things like loops, right? So for example, let's do that, but let's do that with something else. Let's do that with a cube. Let's say, yeah, it doesn't matter actually, it doesn't matter. Let's use the rectangle. Actually, I want to use the Control Z, but unfortunately there is no undo functionality in Ventuz. So guys, I don't know. Let me know if there is soon a release with the undo. No, forget it. There will probably be never an undo function in Ventuz. So make sure you save and make sure you work clearly, and also maybe open here in the settings your your autosave, because if for whatever reason your computer crashes and you didn't save it before, then yeah, you will be a bit angry, right? So again, we make this quickly again. So let's make that 5. Okay, how we do that? Let's say I want to make a little loop. I show you a little loop with animation. Okay, so let's bring in this guys, and okay, let's say I start here from, we are starting here somewhere here. Let's start here -20, right? Make it a bit smaller, so -20, here we start. Okay, so we add here keyframe, insert, then after let's say half a second, I want you have down here, insert, after another half a second I want to have you on the other side, and after another half second I want to have you on the top right corner, and after another half second I want to have you back on the top left, and after another half second I want to have you back in the center where we started, right? Okay, so this guy is now just going around our screen. Okay, here we go. So now I make one state, and to make a loop here I really just need one state. So I add here a new soft state. Okay, that's S1, and now I go here, and now I don't create a new state, I just go here now, and now we can see, hey, here he offers me I can reuse this soft state, and that's cool because it's not bound to a keyframe, right? So I just add my state 1 at the beginning and at the end, right? So let's check the logic view, what happens here, and that's exactly what's happened here now. Yeah, that thing what happened before. This is now a loop which is going from the start S1 state to the end, and the end is also the S1 state. That means what we can do now, here we assigned here our We assigned here our next and previous, or we don't assign it, but Ventuz actually did it automatically. So if I press next now, this animation will go around and around and around and around whenever I click that. Okay. So this is pretty cool, because with this one you can build some nice little effects for click buttons and stuff like that, right? What we did before. So yes. So let me quickly check again if I covered everything what I wanted to cover in this animation tutorial. But I think we are pretty much good, right? So you know now how to create your own methods. You also know now how to create keyframes. You also know now how to add channels, right? So for example, again, add here that Z channel, you know, you have something finished and you say, hey, I want to have this guy is rotating now also a little bit from here to here. Let's insert another keyframe and I say, I want that guy makes a little bit like a square is falling down here, right? So like this, yeah, why not? And then from here we want to do the same, maybe a little bit more. And add also this keyframes, so let's see that. Chook, chook. Yeah, why not? And then we go up again. And we of course go up like this. And we add keyframe, and then we go over there. And this one we are doing like like this exactly, and another keyframe, and then we go down here like this, minus 270, and add keyframes. Oh. Okay, you see, exactly, good. So for example, you see, if I go here now, if I want to select this keyframe here, my time bar is automatically jumping back to 1, right? I mean, that's actually okay, but I want to add a keyframe here because I want to make that little rotation, right? I want to add here keyframes for that set rotation. So simple way, what I know, just move that state, that soft state quickly, and do that again and say gong, 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 and something like that. And add your keyframe, insert, and bring your state back, and everything's good. Right, so let's play it. Naja, nearly everything is good. Nearly everything is good, because here we have actually you know, this here is our 270. That's actually wrong, right? So I want to have that 0, and then we go here, right? Something like that. We go over there. We go over there. I think you get the idea what I mean, right? And down here I want to have a little bit different. So let's say 0. So what do? We change this value to, let's keep that 0 too, and let's just add here maybe another quick keyframe for whatever reason, and let's call that minus 360, something like that, and let's see how this works. Yeah, nearly. But I think you get the idea what I mean, right? The difference between the soft state and the hard states. I, frankly speaking, use mostly soft states. Yeah, for some very special whatever reasons. Yeah, it makes sense to have fewer hard states, and I'm sure there will be a lot of there will be a lot of reasons why they have the hard states and the soft states. But like I say, for that bit, Ventuz, what I'm doing sometimes is the soft states, my choice. Okay guys, I think that's pretty much all for this tutorial, because that's a lot already. In the next one we will then apply this animation stuff what we learned now to our menu, right? What we did here before. So for example, my plan is actually to go on and say, hey, I want to have everything is off, right? So that means I want to have the animation is just off. Let's call it off state, right? So we don't see anything. And when I press the button, then I want that menu like this. I'm not sure if I use this menu, or I guess we will build another one together or something similar. But when I press that animation start for whatever couple of seconds, then I want that this menu appears, right, with nice animation. They scale up or whatever, or they the rotation factor goes up and stuff like that. So this will be then in the part 6, which will hopefully coming soon. As soon as I have time, I will go on with that. Okay, guys, I hope you liked it, and sorry if I had to let you wait a little bit. Anyway, if you like it, subscribe and leave comments below. If you have any questions, I will try to answer everything. See you soon. Bye bye. Thank you. Cheerio.